Okay, my name is Paul Valade, and I am representing the Daily Herald Editorial Board. And today we are having a candidate endorsement meeting with Kane County Board District 20 candidates. Cherryl Fritz Strathmann, she's a Democrat and she is the incumbent. And her challenger is Silvia Schrage, and she is a Republican. I'm going to start in with some questions. First, for Silvia, you stated on your website that there is a total disconnect between the issues that concern the District 20 residents and the concerns of the county board. Like what areas is that happening, and what will you hope to do about that?
Well, one of the things that is distressing is that the health department has basically jurisdiction over the whole county. And when you go to their website and you look for lead, it just mentions lead in paint. And that's because the health department is driven by grants, and they have a grant, a study with the University of Illinois, and therefore that's the information they have. But there is really not much mention of the lead in the water issue. That is an issue that is overall dealt with by the municipalities. So I understand the municipalities are the ones responsible, the water departments, to deal with it. However, it's a big issue because we have 17,000 homes with lead service lines. I should say 17,000 lead service lines. It could be more homes if it's, multiple. I don't know how that happens with apartments, how that works out. And then there was originally 12,000 service lines in lead service lines in Elgin, and we've got two of the four places with most lead service lines in northern Illinois, probably in all of Illinois. It's a big problem. So for it not to be even mentioned on the website and not to be considered a priority is a disconnect. People are very worried about this. And there was an opportunity, there were ARPA funds, and the disconnect was even greater in the sense that the ARPA funds, there was a concern about how to use them. And you have, a deadline, you have to use or lose, you have to meet some requirements. But, the board paid consultants to help them with this. And they had a surplus at the end of other projects that they tackle with it that was double the amount that Elgin had. Elgin had a surplus of 13.5 million, and they figured out that they could replace the lead service lines of 1,000 homes. And so I came to the board as a citizen addressing the board and said, instead of building yourself new offices, building yourself a new building with this surplus, that is in a tight deadline. There was a lot of issues about whether they could actually get it done or not. Meeting rooms, storage, and office space is basically what the building was about, because they were not going to change the services they give to the public other than perhaps renting out or sharing those meeting rooms. But when you have people paying for water for 12 more years, some of them, because the project was scheduled in Elgin to finish in 2037, now they say 2035, 12 years of paying for water with lead, and you have an opportunity of some windfall of funds that came your way that affect the health of people. It's the health department. People would really prefer that you help them with the lead than that you have better offices. So that's the disconnect. Not the disconnect is the needs of the people, and also not looking the city council and the board and the township, they all kind of should talk to each other and collaborate on common issues that are of such magnitude.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. And how would you like to respond to the?
Well, I would like to respond to that. First of all, I am the chair of the Public Health Department committee, rather, and there's a lot to unpack with this answer. First of all, we are not building a new building for the health department with the ARPA money, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. We have bought a new building, well, an existing building in Elgin that will be housing the health department, which is a new satellite for the northern part of Kane County. It will also house the county clerk a part of his office will be up here. And then also court services will be up there. So it's a building that we bought that was in foreclosure. The county, the public health department itself is paying for the building. And then the departments will do some, figuring out who owes what for getting it, ready for the needs they have on the inside in that. So there is no new health department building being built. And as far as lead lines, the water in Kane County is, of course, a major concern to the whole board. The water in the county is the jurisdiction of the county. However, lead lines in a municipality are not the jurisdiction of the county. And the fact that we have so many cities in the county, we could not spend money on one municipality over another. There were many, many restrictions. I sit on the ARPA committee, which is, again, the American, pardon my shortcuts here. We get used to them on board, and I forget that people don't always know what they are. But the American Rescue Plan, we were given some very strict federal guidelines. We had to meet qualifications of what we could use it for, what we couldn't use it for, what parts we could use for. And so we decided that the very efficient thing to do would be to hire an outside firm that could guide us. And the thing is that we had to have everything settled by December of this year. Because if we don't have everything contracted or designated by December 31st of this year, it goes back to the federal government. And we decided as a committee that it would be judicial to hire somebody who could examine the parameters, that they would have the know-it-all that we did not as a committee. So they could tell us what the risk was if we gave, this person who asked, by person, I mean group or community or whatever, who asked for money from the ARPA committee. If they asked for it, what our risk assessment was. So the money that we paid for this outside source was very efficient, and it saved us a lot of money by being able to get the money adjudicated in the right way. And then we have money that we do not have any leftover money. We have we're just winding down. We've almost used all of the money, and it's been quite a difficult process to sit on that board to try to decide who was most affected by the pandemic and who most deserved to have money. And it was very, very difficult. And we put a lot of time and a lot of thought into where we did direct the money. But we did not direct money to municipalities. Every municipality got their own amount of ARPA money. And the Kane County money was directed to use for the county itself.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, I
Sure.
am familiar with all of this. It's not news to me. And I am, when I'm talking about the building, is in the process of coming to purchase this local building, it was in January, February, earlier in the year, there was an approval, initial approval of the idea of building a new building, and then it got postponed because there were so many questions and concerns of citizens coming and complaining, and there was also a lot of pushback. But originally it was on the consent agenda and it was kind of expected to just be a quick thing to spend on a building that was going to be $30 to $50 million. And then because of the pushback, and probably also because this other cheaper option came their way, but this is what everybody was saying. Why do we waste our time? And so the concern is, why are we looking to build something worth $24 million when there is so many empty buildings out there? So I'm really glad they got a cheaper option. I'm very glad about that. And I'm glad that it's shared with other offices and not just the health department. I am aware of that purchase. My concern is still the idea that it was even considered to spend that amount of money on a building that wasn't changing services to the citizens, and then opportunity to really help. And I understand that the ARPA funds were also given to other things downstream. And I'm not sure it's an impossibility for the county to give it to some municipalities. Didn't have to be all to Elgin, but I'm not 100% sure that it was an impossibility. So I don't think it was even explored.
What's that?
Can I respond?
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that just shows the work that the committee did in that there was before I sat on the board many years ago, there was a master plan that said that we would build a campus. And in that master plan was one of the parts of it was to build a new health building out where the judicial campus is. And we thought about it, we talked about it, and it wasn't going to be just for services, and it wasn't going to be used for anything other than health department programs. It was going to allow us to increase our programs and increase vaccination sites and well baby sites and that sort of thing. But we decided after much work that that was not the best use of the funds. And so it just happened that we found this building in Elgin that, like I said, was in foreclosure. It's being paid for completely by the health department itself with some of their funds that they've been able to accumulate over the years. And so I am really looking forward to it being able to service. Right now, the only health department building is in Aurora. It's in a building that is in very bad shape. It doesn't, it's not good for the staff to be there, and it's certainly not good for any services to be rendered there. So for us to have a new building in newer, as in not brand new building, but an existing building up in Elgin, it will be great for us to be able to service all the people in Dundee, Carpentersville, Algonquin, all the areas in the northern part of the county. And then we are also not sure what we're going to do with the health building in Aurora because it's in such bad shape. We're not sure at this point if we're going to be restoring it, if we're going to be looking for maybe another opportunity like we had with this building in Elgin. But it's that just shows the hard work that the ARPA committee did by considering our options, weighing the options, listening to what people said, and then coming to a different decision.
I'm glad they listened, and I was very glad that they did listen. I think we, by our concerns of people coming and speaking to the board, which I encourage people to do, I think it had a really good effect on the outcome of that decision. So I'm glad it didn't get built. Yeah. And I'm also, one of the concerns that were raised is that a location of Elgin should be kept. And so I'm glad that because originally there was a big concern that people brought to the board, we need a place in Elgin. And so I am glad that there is a place in Elgin, and that's a priority over, even if they build one in that central campus, they would still need something in Elgin because some of the people, it would be hard to get over there. So I'm very glad that there is one in Elgin, believe me. And I'm glad that it didn't cost $30 million too. So that's all very good.
Also, the cost of the new one was going to be 19 million. Every time groups came, it got escalated as to what the cost was, but our budget was between 19 and 20 million, and that was going to be it. But we decided that it was a better way to go forward with the building that the building in foreclosure that we bought in Elgin. And
that makes a lot of sense.
We're really looking forward to making it set up for the way we need it. It's going to be great.
That's good.
Okay, I'm going to move on here real quick. Cheryl, for you, the question is, what important things are coming up? I mean, we talked about some of them already, but what are some important things coming up the board needs to address?
Well, that's a great question, and there's so much going on in the county. Just today, I was at a a jobs meeting, and it's a very exciting time. It's the intersection of opportunity and timeline. And Kane County was one of the few counties in all of the Chicago area that did not have an economic development organization or team or however you want to say it. And we are using ARPA money to set this up. We just voted on it today. We've been working on it. We started on it in March. We've done a lot of research, and I was in a jobs conference in Chicago in June, and this is going to be a real boon to Kane County. Kane County is unique in that we have urban, suburban, and then rural areas. And we need a master plan so that we don't lose our agricultural land to, run on development. There's concerns about, not having a master plan so that you don't have the infrastructure, so that you don't, it needs to be designed. And so it's very exciting news that we've got this. We voted on it today in the Jobs Committee. More information will be coming out about it, but it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. And I know recently we had Elgin Community College come and speak to us about they're starting to build a manufacturing center building at ECC. And one of the statistics that I remember that they told us was that when they start these jobs at ECC, 88% of the kids who take the training stay in the area.
Wow.
And that is such a great way to keep our young people here, to give them a job where they can earn a living wage so they can become part of the community and have an investment in the community itself, because they've gone to school here and now they have a job here and they can make a living and have a life here. So there's some very exciting things going on. And last night I was at another event that was for U46 called Align. This is just an amazing thing. I just learned about this summer. It's a group that targets 8th graders, and they set them up to explore career paths, and they expose them to what they may need. When I was in 8th grade, I don't remember what I wanted to do, but I think I had no idea of all the different jobs that are available or were available then, and there's much more now. But they do it in everything from tech to education to culinary school to construction. I mean, it's just whatever the kids are interested in. It's a fabulous program. And I just learned about that last night called Align.
Yeah, that is, I've heard about that program. One of the members of volunteers and they told me about it. And I think it is fantastic. And I want to say that, yes, definitely ECC does a stupendous job. And I do work at ECC and I see, what they do in other departments that are not my department necessarily, but my department is involved in some of this. And when it comes to the jobs, actually yesterday I met somebody, a very unique thing, somebody who is a music professor who got introduced to a particular kind of drum made of drums, metal drums from the military that turned them in. This is in Trinidad, Tobago, right? And so then they made these special kind of drums, and ECC has this, and this is one of the only places where you can learn how to play these drums and have access to them. And anyway, so it was a great example of somebody who got introduced to this in high school and at ECC, went to Northern to do a master's and is back there teaching and got a very, very unique niche thing that he discovered at ECC, and it made his whole career. So it's a very example of ECC having people stay in the community. And I definitely think it's worth showcasing this treasure we have. If you ever can do a story on it, I think you should, because it's just simply amazing. Have you ever heard these drums? They're metal and they're chromatically tuned, and you have the melody and the bass and the different, it's incredible. Simply amazing.
Cherryl,
yeah,
did you have
ECC
anything
does a
else?
good job.
Cherryl, did you have anything else about, before I ask Silvia,
Well, yes, there is about what's going on. I'm sorry. I jumped too quick.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I mean about what the board needs to
or
keep
another
an eye
part
on.
of what's going on in the county.
Yeah, about what the county needs to keep an eye out.
Well, we just are starting again. This is with the ARPA money, and this is a major development. I'm so excited to be sitting as chair of the committee while we're doing this. We're starting a behavioral health program because of the needs. It was exposed during the pandemic,
Right.
that mental health was a problem, and it's ongoing. It's not going away, and it is right in that area. Also, is addiction, alcohol, drugs, whatnot, and other kinds of addictions, and domestic abuse. And it's a very large area that we need to help the citizens. And so they have put together, the public health department has put together a program. They will just be launching it soon. They did a presentation last week at the board meetings, and they introduced us to all their staff. It's going to be just incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing the ways that they can reach out to the people of the county and help them in so many ways.
Okay, great. Sylvia, how about you? Anything that you think the board needs to keep an eye on the next upcoming years?
I think that we have to be careful with the jobs. I'm excited about the jobs. At the same time, I hear people losing their jobs. And the biggest concern that I hear is from business owners, the increase in regulations. And this is kind of a tricky issue, right? But there are certain things where we want to take care of them. But then we started creating more and more regulations that make it really hard for businesses. So I was talking with somebody who's very well known in the community for helping with affordable housing and helping his workers. And he said that the regulations make it very difficult for him to do the good work that he does. And he's not the only one. I've heard from multiple business owners that they're concerned about mounting regulations. And so there is that balance that we have to have. And my concern way back when this was not passed on completely, it was again sent to the drawing board a little bit, but the board and the county should always be leaders and examples and not pile on people things that they don't do themselves. So when they had proposed the tree ordinance, I thought it was incredible that the text said that they were exempt from the very ordinance they were putting on people, but they would attempt to follow the letter of the spirit of the law of everything that they were burdening people with. And so that was kind of weak. And I understand they're not going to pay themselves a fine because, that is just the same tax dollar. So if that's what it means to be exempt from the fine, but it just seems that you have to be the leader, you have to give the example, and to really think that things are that what are you trying to accomplish, and do it in a way that is for the good of all, but without being so burdensome that then you shoot yourself in the foot and people keep moving away because they can't keep up with this. So that's the concern. Do good, but pick projects that you can actually make a difference, and pick projects that kind of low-hanging fruit, and that you will see a difference and that will not be so burdensome on people.
I'd like to respond to the tree ordinance.
Yes.
We had a situation a year ago in the county where in Geneva, it was actually in an unincorporated area that bordered Geneva. There was a manufacturing building that was going up, and he was clear cutting all the trees there. And a group of citizens came to us and told us that some of the trees, they called them witness trees, and they had been on the original plat of the township of Geneva. And I think it was 1836 or 46, quite old anyway. And so we looked into how we could protect these witness trees. And it turned out that the county did not have any tree ordinance. So no matter what we did, we could not protect these trees. Even, we had many citizens come, and it was a very sad thing.
Right.
So in response to that, we did create a tree ordinance. And the tree ordinance it was very misunderstood. Um, it is designed to protect the trees, and trees are a great resource for the county, living trees. And it was written and developed by tree experts and by zoning experts who could make a decision about what was good and what was not good. And as far as tree and planting trees, the idea was not that we were punishing people and not that we were trying to tell people what to do on their own property. We were trying to protect the trees of Kane County and give some guidelines as to what should be done or shouldn't be done. And it was born out of this loss of these 300-year-old oaks, or 200, I guess. But it was a very sad situation.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to see 200 years old trees cut, and I understand, I'm aware of that situation. And I love conservation and nature, and I'm all for it. Again, I say the county needs to always lead on that by example. And that is my biggest concern, is don't ever say, we're exempt and we'll attempt to follow what we put on you and we impose fines on you. So that it's just more inspiring, to actually follow, lead by example. And also on that respect, I think it's great to preserve some of these ancient trees, and at the same time, like all of these things, through people coming, there was further feedback on the idea of invasive species, not invasive species. There's so much, and I'm all for native species and getting rid of invasive ones. And I think that is a concern that we have to really work on, and that as part of the ordinance, make sure that we guide people in which trees are native and which are invasive ones, so that we can do better. Yeah. And
in the county, we do not have jurisdiction over what merchandise people sell. And this is, again, a much bigger issue than what the county would have jurisdiction over. I would love to see the state of Illinois make a requirement that they cannot sell invasive species at the big lot stores. I would like to not see that. Unfortunately, that's not been the case. So the county we are under the jurisdiction of the state laws. So whatever the state laws say, we abide by.
Sure, but this brings my concern back to where I see what the county could do. I think that the county shouldn't just be about, okay, I act on it if I can penalize you and if I can have jurisdiction and impose a fine, and then I act on it. I think the county can be an information, have the big picture where they can still share information, even if they wouldn't have the penalizing, jurisdiction over it. So I think they could still be proactive in promoting certain things that help people make better choices.
That's what Kane County Tax is for.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Silvia, I'm going to have you answer this first. On September 10th, the board voted to seek permission from voters to establish a 0.75% sales tax on general merchandise. That will be on the April 2025 in the election. Do you think that the sales tax is needed, and why or why not?
Yeah, it goes back to I understand the county, wanting to. There's inflation, and so there's a need for money. Is always, well, we need more money. Where do we get it from? We can't raise the regular real estate taxes, so let's find some other source. If there was something that could be cut instead of that, because with our businesses struggling and moving away, I just don't see how this is going to be good for the businesses. From the point of view of me as a government entity saying, oh, this is one way where it's not a property tax, is another source. And it's something that is voluntary in the sense, or how could I say, it's based on use. So if you spend more, you have more cash or whatever, then you're the one who's going to be paying this tax, and those who spend less whatever, pay less. But at the same time, I think it's going to have an impact on the businesses. And I hear from business owners, they're concerned about life being expensive in Illinois and in Kane County and people moving away. So I don't see if we could do anything else, if there's anything else we could cut out or be more efficient at, that would be a better choice, if at all possible.
And then Cherryl, same question. I know did you vote for the,
Yes, absolutely, I
Justin?
did. Yes, I did. The Kane, this is a very complicated issue, and 0.75% is 1 penny or 0.75 penny on $100. It's not very much money, and it will be paid for by anybody who buys anything in Kane County. People who live here, people who pass through, people who drive through, get going to the gas station and get a candy bar or whatever. So it will be borne out. The burden of it will be borne out by anybody who buys anything in Kane County. And when I came on the board, which was 4 years ago, we had some real inequities in our staff. We have an amazing staff at the county. They're dedicated. I'm constantly impressed at what they do for the people of the county. We had clerks who were making $4 an hour, and I'm talking about a clerk in the court with 5 years experience. Did I say $4? I meant $14.
Okay,
That would be really bad.
That's really bad.
Really bad. $14
Yes,
or
that
$4.
is
No,
inequity,
a
yes.
clerk in the county in the judicial center with 5 years experience was making $14 an hour. Now that is not an entry-level job. And that is something. We had clerks in one department making more, in another department with the same designation as clerk, they made less or more. There was no equity from department to department. So one of the things we did was we worked very hard to make it equal for the employees. So it did cost some money to rectify that. But the people who live and work in Kane County should be able to make a living wage. And we have not raised any taxes for the county portion of the bill for 13 years. To me, that is irresponsible. You would not expect to pay today for a cup of coffee what you paid for a cup of coffee 13 years ago, or for a car, or for a house, or anything. We do have services that we have to supply to people. We want to service people. And if we don't have the revenue so that we can, that creates what I call a backdoor tax. And that is where you have to increase fees and ticket prices go up. And to me, that's not the way to do it. I think that this sales tax is going to be, this retail sales tax is going to be a way to help us a lot.
Okay, thank you. And then Cherryl, I have you into this first. This is our last question. Just some highlights of yourself and your candidacy. What makes you the best candidate for the position?
Well, I have grown up in Elgin, and I have been active in Elgin all of my life. I've been on the Citizens Advisory Board for the high school. I've been a Girl Scout leader. I was a docent for the Forest Reserve. I've worn all kinds of different hats. And I had no desire to ever run for any office. I was one of those workhorse people. And when I was asked to run, I took some serious time to consider it and decided, yeah, maybe I would have something to offer. And I have found out that I really love it. I feel like it is a way that I get to pay back for some of the benefits I've experienced in my life. I really like knowing and working with my friends and neighbors, and I've learned so much. I think that's one of the benefits I didn't expect. I've always been a student and always open to learning new things. And man, have I learned new things. It's been a lot, but it's been fun. And, when I was preparing to get elected the first time, I thought I had done a lot of work of learning and expecting, and I had no idea. So much work goes on behind the scenes. When the board meetings are just a small portion of it. And the things that we get asked to do and listen to, and we listen to the constituents, and we listen to all our constituents, and all the board is available to anybody who wants to get in touch with us. And so I have worked very hard on many things. One of the things that I think is I'm really proud of. When I came on the chair as chair of public health, I was amazed at all the services that the public health department offered. And I thought, if I don't know this, then there's a lot of people who don't know this. So at each one of my monthly meetings, I have another program from the health department come in and talk about what their program. For instance, one of them was a group of young immigrant mothers from Aurora some of them were here only for 2 years. And they worked together to help each other navigate the school system for their kids. And they won an award in Aurora. And it was with the help of staff from the public health department that they were able to navigate all this. And they had parent cafes, and they would, just talk to each other, and they learned from each other with the guidance of one of the staff members. So that's something I'm very proud of. I'm also very proud of the building that's going to be happening. I'm really excited about that. But I think all of us on the board wear a lot of hats, and that's a fun part of being on the board, is working for the people of Kane County.
Okay, Silvia, how about you? What makes you the best candidate?
Well, in particular, this district is so heavily Hispanic, the population, whether they vote or not, 12,000, it's just like, it's such a huge number of, the number of Hispanics, and there's a lot of Spanish speakers. Not all Hispanics are necessarily Spanish speakers. Some of them don't actually speak much Spanish if they were raised here and they're registered voters, but there's all kinds. And it's really been a wonderful experience going out there and talking with people and hearing their concerns. And I would say that most people don't have a clue of what the county does, what it does for them. They don't know who represents them. And a lot of people, the concerns they bring up are not really from the county, they're from the city. In general, they just don't know what to do about anything with the government or where to go. And so it's what I would do is that comes from my experience. I was at Sherman, the first manager of cross-cultural communications. And what I did there was draft the policies and procedures for the hospital to comply with the OCR guidance on providing services for limited English proficiency patients. I think the board could do a lot better with that. I don't think there's much information available clearly in Spanish. One person that I talked to on the street, when I asked her if she wanted something in Spanish or in English, her answer was, I don't want she was bilingual enough that she said, I don't want the Spanish because you can't make sense of it. So many things we put out in Spanish, if they're Google Translate or whatever, and we comply by putting some machine translation, they make no sense. So she wanted the English, she didn't want the Spanish. And then there's all these people who still need information that makes sense in Spanish. So this particular district has a lot of that need. And even if it's not that, obviously is not the only other language, there's other languages too. And when I worked at the hospital, we had guidelines in how to prioritize which other language you might, or how you might serve other language other than Spanish, because there's the Laotians and Elgin, and there's other languages too. But that's my experience dealing with communication with a diverse population. This is what I bring. The other thing that I bring is the experience of a lot of this population of living in different cultures, because I am myself, I lived 19 years outside of the States. I was actually born here, and I was born in Pennsylvania, moved to Argentina as a child, went through all the whole school system there. And when I came back, I went through very much the experience of an immigrant, because I had to kind of figure things out on my own. And so I can relate, and in a very much experiential way, with a big part of the population of this particular district.
Okay.
And they can feel represented, they have a voice. Yeah.
Thank you. And then do either of you have something you want to add before we wrap it up?
Well, I would love to have people vote for me. I think I'm doing a good job. I I want to continue on the board. It's we joke about being red jelly beans and blue jelly beans on the board, and we are friendly. We are able to work together. We come with our backgrounds and our filters for different resolutions to the problems, but we work together, and I'm proud to be a part of a board that is moving forward and taking control of some of the problems that hadn't been addressed in the past. So I'm very proud, and I would love to continue my service.
Okay, thank you. Silvia?
Very good. And yes, I like that idea of being not working together. And so I say that it's my thing is common sense for the common good. Focus on common problems that we can really help across the board, and that use our tax money that way for things that are concerns of the population, and how we decide the priorities, and really focus on the common good and applying common sense when we choose priorities. Go for the low hanging fruit, what can be accomplished, and we can make progress, because some things are gonna take, by the time we tackle them, the technology might be so advanced and changed by that time, that let's make sure we tackle what's attainable first. And again, that's why I think I'm a good candidate. Common sense for the common good.
All right. Thank you both for attending today. And we
Thank you.
will talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.